are excited because it's Cinco de Mayo weekend. Yes, Cinco de Mayo, or as the Trump administration calls it, May 5th.
That was supposed to be funny. I'm not sure even Bill Maher believed that one. But there you have it. It is Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Porto. Cinco de whatever. It's the Chris Plant Show. Chris is out today. Mike Opelka in for one day only. Thank you for being here. I hope you had a great weekend. I know there were some communities, big communities in the country that held Cinco de Mayo celebrations. And then there were communities that said they were banning their Cinco de Mayo celebrations out of fear. For example, in Chicago, where this program airs, Cinco de Mayo, some of the Cinco de Mayo festivities canceled because of fear that there might be a ICE raid on the parade. That the Chicago Cinco de Mayo celebration could be dampened by people showing up and arresting bad folks. Yeah, Cinco de Mayo canceled in Chicago this year, and this year's reason is different than last year's reason. I'm old enough to remember all the way back to 2024. I'm old enough to recall that, oh boy, the Cinco de Mayo parade on Cermak on the west side of Chicago was canceled because gang violence. So a year ago when Joe Biden was president, he didn't know it, but he was president. The Cinco de Mayo festivities in one part of Chicago canceled, and then another part of Chicago last year, 27 arrested as gang violence impacted the Cinco de Mayo parade. So what is it, Chicago? Are you just conveniently attaching the fact that the president is enforcing the laws and saying, no, we're not going to have a parade because the laws might be enforced? Throwing a major Bravo Sierra flag on the city of Chicago. Major. And I just checked the statistics on Chicago because you got to watch and see what's going on. And they called this, because there was no Cinco de Mayo celebration, this was the guacamole-free weekend in Chicago. Hey, hey, ho, ho, guacamole gots to go was the chant that was put on the HeyJackass.com website that shows in May to date, and this is the fifth day, so that's 4 people shot and killed so far in Chicago. That's one a day. Shot and killed. Oh, somebody else was killed some other manner. They're up to 5. But thankfully, homicides are down, and that's a good thing. That's always a good thing. But to say that you're canceling the Cinco de Mayo festivities in the city of Chicago this year because you're worried that the law might be enforced is just laughable. Especially when we look at last year and gang violence, the threat of gang violence canceled Cinco de Mayo festivities in the Windy City. Judge Judy would tell you the title of her first book, Don't Pee on My Leg and Tell Me It's Raining. And that is the truth. That is the reality, Chicago. We know our history. We follow it here. Detroit held the Cinco de Mayo parade, even though Chicago and Philadelphia canceled theirs. Why would you be afraid that the law would be enforced? Are you afraid of losing voters? Is that the case? You want to join the conversation, you can. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. A lot of stories that are bubbling today. I said we will get to the Kristen Welker interview with the president on Meet the Press. Some of it was laughable. Some of the exchange between President Trump and Kristen Welker was just downright funny. Really funny. And some of it you just said, seriously, how much is this person being paid to do this job? And how really, NBC, are you really pulling the numbers you want from this? I didn't go back and look at the numbers, but I will. And we'll have some fun with it all along the way. The president, and we discussed this earlier, the president did already throw water on the fire that the Democrats keep trying to ignite. Oh, he's going to run for a third term. He's never going to leave office. He'll be a king. He'll appoint himself king. No, stop. Donald Trump said he has no intention of. He said a lot of people would like him to run for a third term, and I still maintain 78 years old right now, about to have a birthday in about 5 weeks. I don't think he's considering yet another campaign and another 4 years in the White House. How many days does he have left? It's something like 1,356 days left. You're just through the first 100 days. Today's 106 or 107 days. He has 1,350 odd days left. I think he's going to do everything he can in those remaining 1,350 plus days to achieve all of the campaign promises that he has been delivering on so far. We also have to get to the order to defund PBS and NPR, which I support wholly. I know Chris does as well. We've talked about this all the time, how NPR and PBS are just message machines for the left. And you and I shouldn't be paying for it. There's no way we should be paying for it. And yesterday on Face the Nation, the Sunday morning show on CBS, Face the Nation, after the president talked about defunding PBS and NPR, they did what we always expect Democrats to do. They played the children card. What is going to happen to the children if we don't have PBS? Do you have any idea of the terrible things that are going to happen? And CBS was there to help out.
The president tweeted or socialed or truthed, Republicans must defund and totally disassociate themselves from NPR and PBS, the radical left monsters that so badly hurt our country. I have to tell you, I heard monsters and I thought of Cookie Monster. I did too, Sesame Street, and I thought of that children's programming. Right. That is in many ways what people think of when they think of PBS.
Absolutely. Is it? Is it really what people think of? Sesame Street's one of the things. I think of a bunch of really soft British programs that we're not even making here, and we're bringing them over and foisting them on people that will give us money so we can send them a tote bag and an umbrella. But okay, you do what you do, Margaret Brennan, and talking with the CEO of PBS on this very topic. And they're very concerned about what's going to happen to the children.
Is that impacted too?
Absolutely. And out of this executive order, we believe it impacts our funding out of the Department of Education, which is a 30-year program that has supported not only the creation of many of the children's programming that you see on public television, but also the research that we do to ensure that that programming is not just safe and enjoyable, but that children, after watching, come away with understanding of basic letters and numbers. Half the kids in this country are not enrolled in formal pre-K.
So the CEO of PBS is so worried that the gravy train's about to be derailed that she is saying that the children of the country will face an education shortage. They won't know their numbers or their letters. I'm looking at a study that came out today that shows 1 out of 5 adults in America, 20%, 1 out of 5 adults cannot read. So I would say that your program is a failure already, madam. But continue trying to make me believe.
That's why programming for children on public television was created. That was the idea with Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers and everything that's followed since, is to make sure that children that do not have access to a full array of resources have the opportunity to learn and to develop skills that they'll need the first time they enter preschool. That may be at age 2 or 3 or 4 and sometimes 5, not until they start kindergarten. That's what's at risk.
That's what's at risk. Children, they won't be able to know their numbers and letters. The count will be out of work. You can count him out. 1 termination. 2 weeks to clean out your desk. 3 weeks we offer you, maybe. I don't know. It's really fascinating to me that the entire argument from PBS now is, well, the children will suffer. We have to have the money that we've had for 30 plus years out of the Department of Education, where we have thrown money at things over and over and over again, and nothing has gotten better. Nothing. Not a thing has improved. Play the children card all you want. And then the other end of this was fascinating to me, is that over at NPR, the other half of this dynamic duo, PBS, NPR's Catherine Maher and PBS's David Brooks were being interviewed to discuss, well, you know, what's going to happen if you take the money away. Where your reporting has been said to be very liberal, very left supporting. Yes, they are a talking points reader for the DNC. It's laughable when you hear what Maher and Brooks say is being generated by NPR and PBS.
And our people report straight down the line. And I think that not only do they do that, they do so with a mission that very few other broadcast organizations have, which is a requirement to serve the entire public.
If you think PBS is biased, compared to who? Name one news organization in America, and I shouldn't be defending us, I get paid by PBS, but I'm going to do it, who's more straight down the line than we are.
Straight down the line. Both of them saying that PBS and NPR are straight down the line reporting. Name one that does better reporting. It's laughable. It is laughable. And I hope Trump gets it done. He issued the executive order to defund PBS, NPR, the hundreds of millions of dollars that of yours and mine that we pump into these far left-leaning opinion machines. If they're that good, if they're that popular, let them survive on their own. That's why there is no talk radio that really survives on the left, because it requires the help of you and I and the taxpayers, and commercial talk radio doing very well. Commercial talk radio on the conservative side of things supports itself, does very well. So why don't you play by the same rules that everybody else has to play by, PBS? You're 30 years old, and according to the lady who was on with Margaret Brennan, you're 30 years old, you're a grown-up, support yourself, stand on your own 2 feet. I'm just saying. All right, I got to take a break here in a second, but before I get out of here, I have to take one call here because I think it might provide great entertainment. Mike is in Gainesville, Virginia. Mike, welcome to the Chris Plante Show. You have a statement, a question, a concern?
Good morning, Mr. Opelka. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
Yeah, we're talking about Trump in 2028. The only Trump child right now that's eligible to be president would be Tiffany Trump. She's a natural-born citizen. Both of her parents were USA citizens. So I'm on board with Tiffany Trump being president in 2029. I can go for that.
So Don Jr., born here in America. Eric
Not
Trump,
natural.
born here in America. And Ivanka Trump, brilliant young lady, great businesswoman, born here in America. You make the case that none of them can run for president.
Oh, they can run. They just can't take office. They're not eligible to take the office. Right? Lots of people run that aren't eligible.
They're born here. They're naturalized citizens. They're born on the American soil. They're born here. They're born and they're native born Americans. They can run.
Right. Native is not natural born.
They are. How do you get through every day? Seriously, how do you get through every day living? How do you get through every day living this insanity? Truly,
I don't understand. I don't understand how this is hard to understand.
It's because you're crazy. That's why it's hard to understand. You just don't understand. I feel badly for you. But at least you have all day to suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. You know who else does? Sean Penn. I'll play you some Sean Penn. Crazy stuff. It's Michael Pelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris.
Welcome back to the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka, that's me sitting in for my buddy, my pal, my childhood neighbor, Chris Plant. Yeah, both of us grew up in that little Wonder Years suburb on the north side of the city of Chicago. I'm always happy to be here, thrilled to be here with this audience. We will get to the Kristen Welker interview on Meet the Press from yesterday. Confrontational at times, interesting. I thought the president comported himself very well. And I also want to try and get to this Sean Penn madness, because it is the madness of the left, the Trump derangement syndrome that has rotted their brains beyond any explanation. But let's grab Gene in Youngstown, Ohio here. Hello, Gene. You have a thought on all of this?
Oh, hi there, Mike. Just want to say Chris is lucky to have a reliable and talented guest host to maintain the essence of his program, which is basically that the left and the Democrats suck. So anyway, when I was watching that Kristen Welker interview, I learned something about the economy that I wasn't even paying any attention to. It's the cost of dollies. She was really into that. Oh, the kids, they're only going to have, well, I don't know that she's talking about the kids. I think maybe she's talking about adults. Maybe she's talking about blow-up dolls.
Wow.
The price of dolls is...
I had not even thought about the price of sex dolls. That's really a new twist on this. But yes, I noticed she was as obsessed as anyone could be about an offhanded comment the president made in the cabinet meeting last week, where he said, look, there may be some shortages. He didn't, I'm paraphrasing him. You might get 2 dolls for Christmas and not 30. And he exaggerates to clarify, but he was making a point as well. And she obsessed about it, kept saying, what about the 30 dolls? But you said 30 dolls. And I think he upped it and went to 45 at one point, too, which was pretty funny. Very funny stuff. Excellent. Yeah, we're going to break it down. I've got a whole bunch of clips I want to play from the Welker interview, and we will get to it. Grab one more quick one. Joel in Lovettsville, Virginia. Joel, you have a comment on PBS and NPR?
Oh, my gosh. Well, first of all, thank you for filling in. You always do an awesome job. Yeah, take all that money and apply it to real education, not indoctrination. I mean, you just think about it. The other thing is look at the billions and billions of dollars in campaign contributions, especially to Democrats.
Yep. Great point. All that NPR and PBS money, send it back to the states. Let them put it in the schools. It's Michael Pelkin for Chris. Welcome back to the Chris Plant Show on this Monday, Cinco de Mayo. I know, Cinco de Mayo. I'm not celebrating either. It's also Chanel Numero Cinco Day as well, because in 1921, Coco Chanel launched Chanel number 5. So there's something about the 5. Cinco de Mayo and Chanel number 5. And the real history on this day, in 1961, Alan Shepard became the first American in space. The first American, and not on any level should those women who went into space a couple of weeks ago be considered astronauts, the way the Gemini, the Mercury, the Apollo, all of the American real astronauts are to be honored and considered. On this date, 1961, Alan Shepard, first American astronaut in space. We were chasing the Soviets, then we beat them to the moon, because that's how we roll. A lot going on. Over the weekend, we talked about the president. We talked about his interview a little bit about his interview with Meet the Press's Kristen Welker. We will get to some of those clips, but I've been teasing this madness out of Sean Penn, two-time Oscar-winning actor Sean Penn, former husband of Madonna. By the way, there's weird Madonna news today that I don't know if I care about it, but since the world is obsessed with Bill Belichick and his girlfriend, who's 24 and he's 73, I guess, or he's about to be 73. Bill Belichick and his girlfriend have a massive age difference. Madonna, who is 66, is dating a guy in his 20s. Is anyone going to care? Are they going to lose their minds on the media over that? No, they won't, because it's a double standard. I don't care about Belichick at all. I just thought that was weird, that the Madonna story, she's 66, he's in his 20s, and nobody cares. But her former husband, Sean Penn, who has one of the worst cases of Trump derangement syndrome that you will ever see, was on the Jim Acosta show. And I know what you're saying to yourself right now. You're saying, Mike, what? Didn't CNN show him the door? Yes, they did. Abilio Acosta is no longer on the CNN payroll. But who knows, like Brian Stelter, he might return. I wonder if his key card still works. But Acosta does a podcast, and he was having Sean Penn join him on his podcast, and I think Eric Swalwell was there. No, not discussing Fang Fang, but they were talking about something they all obsess about, and that is Donald Trump becoming a dictator. Oh, they're out of their minds about this. They're concerned. They're terrified. And to the point where Sean Penn is comparing Donald Trump to a spouse murderer. Seriously. You got to consider the kind of mental gymnastics this takes for Penn to twist his brain around, to be so upset about Trump that he has gone this far in his analysis of the president.
But before Bukele gets to that point where he's dealing with another leader, we should consider worst-case scenarios. And I do think it's a reasonable theory that Donald Trump is not unlike the spouse of someone who leaves him, perhaps for another, who then murders their former partner because if they can't have her, nobody can.
In case you missed it, they were talking about Bukele, President Bukele, and Penn goes, well, before we get there, let's consider Donald Trump.
The spouse of someone who leaves him, perhaps for another, who then murders their former partner because if they can't have her, nobody can. And I think Donald Trump in his solipsism may have that relationship with the world.
Donald Trump and his solipsism, there's your SAT word of the hour, may have that relationship with the world. With what he is saying, and talk about projection, he is saying that if Trump can't control the entire world like his pal Soros wants to do, then Trump will destroy the world. Are you kidding me? Trump is more out in the open than anybody you'll ever know. But wait, he's not done.
And that this destruction is in part a power play and also a literal intention of his final out.
A literal intention. This is Donald Trump's literal intention to destroy the world. The guy's trying to end a war that's taking thousands of lives every week between Russia and Ukraine. The guy's trying to get the terrorists to stop warring and going after the Jews in the Middle East. The guy's trying to stop the violence on the streets of America. But all the crazed Trump derangement syndrome affected people see as, oh my God, he's going to wreck the world. How is fair trade between America and every other country wrecking the world? But he's not done.
You think he'll try to stay on?
I think he might try to destroy the world before he ages out of life.
Now, just think about this. Sean Penn actually said, he was asked by Jim Acosta, do you think he'll try and stay on? Do you think he'll try and stay on? Meaning at the end of the term, 1,350 odd days from right now, do you think Donald Trump will try and stay on? Will he try and barricade himself inside the White House?
You think he'll try to stay on?
I think he might try to destroy the world before he ages out of life.
Ages out of life. They can't even say dies. Before he ages out of life. What kind of a conversation could you have with people like this? Nothing sane.
Jim, in the history of dictators or those who aspire to be dictators.
Okay, this is Swalwell, so you know this is going to be good, but he's not crying. I think he feels comfortable here. He's not teary-eyed yet. Sean Penn is smoking, Abelio's got his big glasses on, and Swalwell wants to look at in the history of dictators or wannabe dictators.
There's never a succession plan, right? There's never, and that's what worries me is if he doesn't believe there's somebody who can protect him, that you will see him ratchet up, what he's willing to do to the country to protect himself.
So it's almost laughable. Eric Swalwell is saying that Trump is willing to destroy the world if he can't become a dictator. I have to laugh at these people. And if I'm reading this wrong, you're welcome to weigh in. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. It is very entertaining to me. Very entertaining to watch the Democrats and watch them actually melt in front of us. From Sean Penn. And by the way, there was a rumor last year that Sean Penn had been paid millions of dollars by USAID to travel to Ukraine and do that public event where he handed his Oscar, one of his Oscars, to Zelensky and say, I want you to keep this until the war is over and you can deliver it back to me at my home. So what is he to say? My Oscar, I'm giving it to you, but you got to bring it back. Oscar on loan from the Sean Penn Oscar collection to be returned after the war is over. What an egomaniac. It's really funny. That's good stuff. The other story, the Welker thing. I got to get to some of the Welker stuff because there's just too much good commentary here. We talked initially about the president and the Alcatraz story, Alcatraz Island turning into prison. Someone suggested Greenland. Why not just make Greenland our territory and put a big prison there? That subject came up. The topic of Greenland came up.
You are not ruling out military force to take Greenland.
I don't rule it out. I don't say I'm going to do it, but I don't rule out anything. No, not there. We need that. We need Greenland very badly. Greenland is a very small amount of people, which we'll take care of and we'll cherish them and all of that. But we need that for international security.
One thing that people don't really look at is where is Greenland? If you look at where Greenland is on the map, yes, it is strategically vital to America being safe and secure. And the president doesn't hide that. Now, is there a chance that could happen? Maybe. I don't think Greenland's going to get into a fight with the U.S., but I do think there will be discussion. They talked about this as it relates to Canada as well. But Greenland, no, I'm not ruling out using the military. I don't think he's ruling in using the military either. Everybody needs to calm down. A lot of discussion today on PBS and NPR, as we talked about earlier, the president talking about defunding NPR and PBS. And I'm not the only one who's all in on this. Marjorie Taylor Greene apparently has been calling on defunding PBS and NPR. Louis is in Arkansas and has thoughts on this. Hello, Louis.
Hey, Mike. Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't want to say your last name because it's so hard for me, but you're great, man. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's simple. It's Opelka. Very simple. Opelka.
Opelka.
Yeah.
I always get the A at the end mixed with the O, but I'm sorry.
You're not alone. I've been called a lot of things. You know, Louis, I was 5 before I learned my first name was not Dammit.
Well, see, you didn't watch NPR, see?
I didn't. You're right. I'm one of the 20% who can't read.
Well, no, I was calling because I seen a while back Marjorie Taylor Greene, going with the NPR CEO and caught her in the lie under oath, saying that they don't do nothing harmful to kids. And then she brought up a video of a drag queen teaching kids how to dance and calling them to move their hips like swish, swish. And yeah, that was really interesting seeing that.
Yeah, there are cases of indoctrination you can find everywhere within a lot of the PBS programming, and they're just not willing to see the other side. Whereas we see it and point it out and then make the case for our opinion. The PBS people, they don't want to have anyone's opinion but their own. And the ones that call us fascists are the ones that are saying that we're not allowed to have an opinion. But I think they're starting to get a dose of their own medicine. I really think they're starting to realize their days are numbered as well. So we'll see. They're going to fight this out. This is going to end up in a court case. You know that because the left still has a whole bunch of lawyers that are being funded by places like Act Blue, and they will fight to the death on this. And I feel like the harder they fight, it's an indicator that we're over the target and getting closer and closer to finishing the mission. It's going to take a while. We will see. But thank you for the very kind words. And the name isn't as hard as it looks. It's just got the K in there. It throws everybody off. It's Opelka, and there's no apostrophe. But I appreciate you being there, Louis. Thank you, sir. All right, I will get to more of the Kristen Welker interview. There is ample to cover from that. There was more about, are we sending troops to Mexico? And does Tulsi Gabbard sound like a 2028 candidate? I think so. I do know that Stephen A. Smith wants to run, and I've got the proof. I'll share that with you as well. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show. And welcome to Monday. Welcome back to The Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant. Today on Cinco de Mayo. Yesterday, of course, was May 4th and Star Wars Day, as the cool kids call it. May the 4th be with you, as so many of us were saying to each other. Yes, I said it too, I admit. I'm a little bit of a Star Wars nerd. I got it. And just wondering where it came from. And I have to thank Michael Piercy for sending me this very important historic analysis of where May the 4th be with you. Where did Star Wars Day come from? Because Star Wars 1977, if you remember when the movie came out, and I don't remember it until probably the last 20 years. I don't remember saying May the 4th be with you like a nerdy jackass until the recent years. But apparently it came from a British political ad. And a lot of people may or may not know this. The first use of the phrase happened on May 4th, 1979. So it's 46 years old. One day after Margaret Thatcher was elected as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. That is amazing. One day after the first use of the phrase in public, after Thatcher was elected, her political party placed an advertisement, as they would say, or an advert, in the newspaper that included the phrase, quote, "May the 4th be with you," close quote. So there it is. And now you can say it has good conservative roots. I think that's fair. I think that is fair to say. Next year, you're going to have to keep that arrow of knowledge in your quiver for next year. You can pull it out. You know where that came from. It came from Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady. Yes, of course. May the 4th be with you has conservative roots. Oh, that'll drive the Democrats crazy, won't it? Yeah, except it's not really a drive. it's more of a short putt, a really short putt. Robert has something to share with us before the hour gets out. 888-630-9625 is the number. Robert's in Montgomery County, Maryland. Hello, Robert.
Good morning to you, sir, and how are you today?
I'm happy you're here. I always have such a great time with Chris's audience. You guys are always a blast, so I'm glad you're joining us.
Hey, you know what? He gets us motivated. It's motivation. We have to have that today to stay away from all the crazies. The thing I wanted to say to you was we need to ask questions of these people, the Democrats, the people in leadership and whatnot. What are you doing today for your constituents? What have you done today as far as work is concerned? What have you really done? Have you done anything positive today? Well, anything nice about anyone?
This is a really good point, and I got to give credit to Jesse Waters over at Fox News. Remember when Cory Booker and what's his name, Hakeem Jeffries, were doing their sit-in on the steps of the Capitol for 12 hours last week? And Jesse pointed out sit-ins, when they used to happen, they were protests that were actually meant to stop something from happening. If you were sitting in on a campus, you occupied the administration building, you stopped the campus from operating, and you actually were protesting something like the Vietnam War or the ROTC support on campus. And all these guys were doing was not doing their jobs. So instead of doing their jobs, they said, oh, we're protesting. What? What are you accomplishing? We're sitting in. You're sitting on the steps doing nothing. You're like the people. I used to get so mad when all the people that smoke cigarettes used to take 3 or 4 or 5 breaks a day and they'd go outside the building and smoke. I'm like, they get an extra lunch every day. It's the same thing with these alleged protesting Democrats. They're not protesting anything. They're just taking a break. 12 hours. Sorry. Got me angry. You got me angry now.
Don't drive angry. I'm kidding.
You're right. I won't. Yeah, but that's a great point. And this is kind of the key in the chasm between the approval ratings of Democrats and Republicans, especially with the dismal ratings the Democrats have. They don't have plans. All they are doing is complaining. All they're doing is pointing at Trump and going, dictator, you're not doing anything here. Well, you're not going to get liked by anybody unless you stand for something. And the only thing Democrats seem to stand for are showers. And maybe in the case of Jerry Nadler, about 10 minutes at a time. It's awful. It's stupid. It's disgusting. All right, third hour, we'll get into Welker. And, I got a couple other surprises for you on the Chris Plant Show.